This is Viterbi Voices.
Coming to you from the University of Southern California, Viterbi School of Engineering.
We're here to give you the inside scoop on research, classes, student life, and so much more.
All of these shared by students, faculty, alumni, and other members of the USC community.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Viterbi Voices. As usual, I am one of your hosts. My name is Paul Ledesma, Executive Director of Undergraduate Admission here at the Viterbi School of Engineering.
Hey, everybody. I'm your other co-host. My name is Maya. I'm a current senior studying Industrial and Systems Engineering here at USC.
Wow. It's we're here at another episode, Maya. I feel like it's routine now. We see each other on every Friday. We get the recording done. But the bonus is that we have someone else with us here today, and she is no newbie to the podcast, returning co-host. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Celine.
Hi, everyone. My name is Celine, and I'm a senior studying biomedical engineering, and I'm from Montebello, California.
Celine, what is this episode? Is it like your fourth or fifth podcast episode?
Yeah, I think it's my fourth episode.
Wow, look at you.
Yeah.
Wow, podcaster pro. Well, welcome back, Celine. How is life going in your senior year? What's happening in your world right now?
It's about to be spring break, which is really exciting.
That's right. This is your last day before spring break.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to it. I'm leaving for Puerto Rico tomorrow. So I'm really excited. So I feel like that's just on my mind.
Have you been to Puerto Rico before?
No, it's my first time. So it'll be really exciting.
What made you choose Puerto Rico as your spring break destination?
It was honestly really cheap. We were looking for something that was affordable. So we wanted like a Hawaii type of vibe. But
tropical islands, beach.
Yeah. The round trip for our flight was like $200.
What?
$100 for like our hotel. So
what?
It was
so
really-
that was exactly why we chose our location too. The round trip was like $300.
Wait a minute. So I don't know if I know where you're going, Maya. Have we discussed this?
I don't think so.
I don't think we do. I'm remembering your Christmas break down in Mexico. So that's what I was remembering. But where are you going?
No, we are going to Costa Rica.
Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Whoa, cool. Wow. Okay. When do you leave?
I leave on Monday, but I'm actually in Monterey right now. Like the
You're
first
Monterey,
California.
Wow. What are you doing? Hold on. So many things what are you doing in Monterey?
Visiting. So I'm at my roommate's family's house, and we're just getting some family time in. We realized that most people were leaving earlier than we were for spring break, and we didn't have anything Thursday, Friday. So here we are.
Wow, that's exciting. And so what's planned in the Monterey area before you leave?
Oh, Big Sur, Carmel, Pebble Beach. Other than that, I don't know. She has a whole itinerary. It's great.
Have lunch at the fancy hotel in Big Sur, the Ventana. Go there, have lunch, and then learn more about that hotel and how expensive it is. It is
Noted.
kind of the most amazing, over the top hotel you'll ever see. But have lunch because it's on a vista overlooking everything you want to see in Big Sur. It's pretty great.
Yeah. Celine, do you have any plans for Puerto Rico?
Yeah, we're supposed to go, I think it's called cave tubing, which I'm really excited about, and zip lining. So we booked tickets for that. I've never done it before. My mom is kind of scared for me just because scared of heights, so the zip lining thing scares her, but I'm really excited. It's like something that's been on my bucket list forever.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You guys have like the most amazing lives. just gonna be here working. No fun. That's why I'm like, oh yeah, it's spring break. I forgot you guys have spring break. It's just like, for us, it's like busy time. All the high schoolers are coming to visit and everything. So anyways, hey, we have so many other things to probably catch up on the back end of this episode. But before we do that, we have an actual episode with actual content that Celine brought in. Celine, what did you bring for us today?
Yeah, so really excited about this episode. It's essentially seniors giving advice for incoming freshmen for their first year of college. So just some things that we wish we knew.
How cool is that?
Freshmen. Yeah.
Who is on the episode?
Just a group of my friends from BME. So it was just nice getting to catch up and like reflect with them and talk about things that I remember like experiencing with them like sophomore year, freshman year, and then just reflecting on lessons we learned from that. So it was a really good episode, and really
That's
fun to film.
that's awesome and fantastic timing to send out to students that are considering joining us as admission decisions will start to roll out for the rest of the population rather soon. But we can talk all about that on the back end, including other things that are happening in your lives. So let's hand it right back over to Celine, and we'll catch you all on the back end, where I'm sure we have all sorts of other witty banter to get through.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I know you've heard my voice before, but I am with three of my friends. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves, but I'll go ahead and introduce myself again. My name is Celine. I'm a senior studying biomedical engineering, and I am from Montebello, California.
Hi, I'm
Um,
Anthony. I'm a senior also studying biomedical engineering with a molecular cellular emphasis, and I'm from Santa Clarita, California.
Hi, I'm Kara. I am a senior majoring in biomedical engineering, also with a molecular cellular emphasis, and I'm from Honolulu, Hawaii.
Hi, I'm Matthew. I'm a senior studying biomedical engineering, and I'm from Burlingame, California.
All right. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. Super excited to have you on the podcast. So, today we are going to be talking about what we've learned as seniors in college, looking back at our freshman year and what we wish we would have known as incoming freshmen. And I know there's a lot of people who are waiting to hear back from USC admissions and who are excited to think about entering college next year. So we just hope this provides some sort of insight as to what your experience will be like and some wisdom that you can gain from us during this episode. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about today is just that adjustment period for entering college. So I know it can be tricky for people to navigate. You are getting used to living on your own. You have to manage your grades, classes, making new friends, and things like that. And so that transition can be a little tricky for people. And just as some context, we first stepped onto campus our sophomore year just because our freshman year was online due to COVID. So we're going to be talking in reference from that standpoint as incoming freshmen, but really it's our sophomore year. So yeah, I guess you guys can just go over what that experience was like for you. Like, how did you feel on your first day, like at USC when you were moving in? Like, how was that for you? And how did you kind of adjust during that first week?
So I had a bit of an interesting situation because I came into USC with a pretty significant amount of transfer credits from community college that I had done in high school, which put me off track from basically everyone my age group in BME. So all the people I kind of met from like the Zoom year, and if I was a freshman online, this or in person, this would have been the same issue, or kind of a similar issue at least. I didn't really have that much continuity with seeing people on campus, so it was kind of like a full set of fresh faces, which I guess is actually more similar to what a regular freshman experience would be like. And I think it took me quite a while to acclimate to living on campus and being at USC and at like this big university compared to the small high school I was at before, and I think most of us on this podcast went to pretty small high schools, but um it took me like a good probably 3/4 of the year, so like halfway through the second semester, till I actually felt comfortable being on campus. Um, I kind of took advantage of the fact that I lived close to home. And I went home like at least every other weekend just because it's like I I needed a place to crash basically and kind of um sleep and get away from school because it didn't feel like home. Um, and I think I didn't start feel and Matthew knows this because Matthew and I are roommates and we've talked about this many times, but like I he remembers me saying like I didn't feel like I could call USC home probably until like I said, like halfway through the spring. Um, and it took a while, and it's a combination of many factors that lead into that. Um, the like brand new set of faces is always intimidating, that you just kind of have to find friends, make new friends, and when it's the same issue for everyone, you have a pretty strong group of high school friends, and then they're gone, right? Um, the food was a huge thing for me. I hated the dining hall food. Absolutely hated the dining hall food. I was losing weight on the dining hall food, against my will. Um, and that was also a big reason why I wanted to go home, because I wanted the food from home. I didn't want the food from the dining hall. Um, so I always kind of felt hungry all the time just because I was being picky and I didn't like the food.
Wait,
Uh,
though, you didn't get the freshman 60. Is that what they call
no,
it?
I lost the freshman 15.
Oh, freshman
Literally,
not
I
60.
literally lost the freshman 15. Um, what else? Like, classes are classes. I feel like we'll kind of touch back on this in a sec, but it's a jump from high school, and depending on how difficult your high school was, it kind of just changes how um you acclimate to the academic side of being at USC from being a high school kid. Um, that's kind of just like a overview of all the things I remember thinking about a lot. Um, but yeah, I'll let someone else talk.
I think for me, it was definitely hard, to adjust. Right at the beginning, when you move in freshman year or whenever you come to campus, typically there's like this week of all of these on campus uh, events where you get to meet all of these people in your dorm or in your apartment complex, that the school organizes, and people really use that as a way to just try and make a lot of new friends. But I moved in a little late. I moved in kind of right at the very end of that, so I didn't really take advantage of those things and meet a lot of new people. Um, and I happened to get lucky in that um, I really liked my roommates. I felt like I could genuinely be friends with them, and so I ended up spending a lot of my time freshman or sophomore year, hanging out with them, which is a good thing because they're still the people I live with today, and I really love them, and they're lifelong friends. But at the same time, I wish that I had kind of gotten out of that comfort zone more in sophomore year, because I think, like Anthony, it took me a long time to adjust just because I was kind of found something I was comfortable with and I stuck with that. I also couldn't go home every weekend, a little too far. So that was hard to adjust to. I remember like begging my parents, asking me to come home for Thanksgiving, because it was a long flight and it was so expensive, but I just wanted to go home so badly. Um,
So yeah, as Anthony and had mentioned earlier, he and I have been roommates since our sophomore year. Um, I felt like I acclimated to college. I had a lot easier time acclimating to college than him, and the reason for that was I had joined the marching band my freshman year during COVID, and I I kind of got roped into it. I wasn't a very good musician in high school. I'm an alto saxophonist, but I'd started in fourth grade, did it for a couple of years in middle school, and then took a giant break, and then restarted senior year of high school. And I was basically kind of the joke of the class that um, just wasn't a very good player. But the Trojan Marching Band takes any and all musicians, as long as you have spirit and uh, commit to joining their program. So I had a group of friends that I'd made in my online year, and when I came in person, they became kind of my second family that took care of me in college. And I remember that first day seeing everyone in person. From that previous year, I saw everyone in small Zoom boxes. To finally seeing them in person, we had one guy who we didn't know was like 6'7". I was like, oh my goodness, it was quite a shock. But it was quite a glorious day to see everyone. And I think I took that excitement and just yeah, happiness to see everyone into that first semester. So I didn't really feel homesick or anything, and I had a pretty easy time, getting used to the college life. I guess, there's always um trying to schedule in getting food and doing laundry and that sort of thing. You don't have to think about that as much at home. Um, but in terms of the social aspect, it was definitely a lot easier for me that first semester. And so USC is a big fall because of the football. And however, in the spring, for me, band kind of shrunk away because we do basketball games and that sort of thing. And so that's when kind of the homesickness kind of struck me, because I didn't have that community in band as much. Um, and so it definitely took me a little bit of time to adjust to being by myself that second semester. But you get over it. It lasts a little while, but it happens to everyone. It's normal.
Yeah, I would say for me, I think like what Matt touched on, that everyone experiences like a little homesickness during that first year is something that's really important to remember because I feel like a lot of times people like feel homesick or maybe they feel like FOMO, like they're not doing enough, like hanging out with people and things like that. But nobody outwardly expresses that. So you kind of just think that everybody is like fine, like holding it all together. But in reality, I feel like a lot of people their first year in college experience some sort of homesickness or FOMO or something like that during that first year. So it's okay to feel that way. I feel like we all have expressed that we did feel that way in that first year. So I feel like whenever you feel that way as a freshman, just remember that everyone else is going through the same thing. And I think like Anthony and Kara, I feel like that first semester was difficult for me. I did feel very homesick, and I'm only like 20 minutes away from campus. Um, Also, I don't consider myself to be a very extroverted person. I'm very shy. I was way shyer like my freshman year or sophomore year, and in high school. So I wasn't really one to put myself out there. So I feel like I kind of like Kara was mentioning, just like kept to like my roommate, which was my sister, and then like the friends that I had made online, just like in that smaller circle. And it was nice and it was like a comfort space for me. But I feel like what was important for me, like starting sophomore spring, was starting to branch out and meet new people. So I ended up joining an organization called Helene's on campus. And it was just a really nice way for me to meet new friends and sort of expand my reach at USC and start to put myself out there more. And I feel like that experience in itself, like that freshman year or sophomore year, um, just like helped me grow as a person. And I feel like in college now, I consider myself to be still an introvert, but slightly more extroverted. And I feel like I'm more willing to put myself out there. So I feel like that freshman year, it's okay to be scared, but start to like become more comfortable. Number one, like being alone. Like I feel like people don't aren't comfortable being alone, but like I love to like get coffee by myself, things like that. And that's totally normal. That's like I feel like that's how you grow as a person. So I feel like doing that my freshman year, getting comfortable with that, and then starting to expand outward and meet new people. Also, in that first year, I would say like calling your parents or another support system is really helpful. So I would also go home a lot. Like Anthony mentioned, that first semester I was home like every other weekend too. But in the spring, I started to ease off from that and just started calling my parents whenever I felt homesick. And that helped a lot too. Okay, so I know we also mentioned like relationships, friendships, things like that. How was it making your first friends in college? What was that experience like for you? Did you keep your same friends that you had since sophomore year? Um, and any organizations, clubs, things like that that helped you to find those friendships?
I can start because I think um sophomore year, I felt like I had maybe three friends, and two of them are in this call right now. So, um, it really wasn't until so I was pretty active as a general member. Um, with ASBME,
What's
and
ASB, Anthony?
ASBME is the Associated Students of Biomedical Engineering. Um, and as a sophomore, I would do a lot of the well, even online freshman year too. But sophomore, my main contribution was I would help with the volunteering component that we have called Project in a Box, which is where we go across the street to the magnet school on 32nd and we teach lessons about biomedical engineering in some capacity to elementary school kids. Um, and that was kind of my like the gateway, I guess, into the ASBME community. So anyway, I was pretty active, and after I applied to eBoard that year, I got on. Um, and since then, that has been my kind of my rock in terms of friends. Since most of my friends are people on eBoard. And in general, I do definitely feel like becoming involved in the student org is what uh let me build those friendships with on campus that are still last to this day. So I wouldn't be like my friend group necessarily changed since freshman sophomore year. Um in fact, it grew off the same people that I met that year. So I guess moral of the story is student org involvement is was my way of making friends, and that kind of was um, sustainable over the course of the years.
Yeah, I think I have kind of a similar experience to Anthony. My sophomore year, like I had mentioned earlier, I was really only, I was really good friends with my roommates, and those were my really the main people that I spent most of my time with. And like Anthony, I was trying to get involved in some student organizations. I also did Project in a Box as a sophomore. I was also in med design in my sophomore year. Um, and I tried to, like meet new friends through those experiences. But I think that it was really not until my junior year when I got more involved regularly with ASBME that I started building those closer friendships. Um, and I think especially now, once you start making some of those close friends, you branch out to meet other people and you start to expand your circle, like Anthony said. And I don't think I would have been able to do that had I not gotten more involved um, in student organizations. So, yeah, like Anthony said, I think like student organizations are really one of the biggest ways that you can meet people and make new friends, but it's definitely not the only way to meet other people. It kind of just depends on what you get involved in.
Yeah, so I guess similar to Anthony and Kara, clubs, specifically marching band for me and swim club played a big role in, me finding friends in college, and me kind of branching out and, meeting a lot of new people. Similar to Celine, I guess in high school, I was quite an introvert. I was very much like a, nose in the book sort of guy. I would just go to the libraries and study during breaks and lunch and even after school. And I didn't have many good friends coming out of high school. So that was one thing I really wanted to work on coming to college. Just meeting a lot of people, working on my social skills and that sort of thing. So I guess, my main groups of friends in college are marching band, swim club, and also my major, BME. I'm very good friends with Anthony, Kara, and Celine, and we've known each other somewhat since freshman year, and we've developed friendships, in all our classes and that sort of thing. Um, and also in my extracurriculars, I feel like I've kind of fostered the friendships that I started in freshman year. And I guess specifically in band, they do a good job of, you know, you're a certain cohort with your class and you guys stick together through your 4 years and you go on various trips together. So for me, I went to Arizona, Utah, and Colorado for the football games there. as a class and as a cohort. So they have all these things built in to, you know, foster these lifelong connections that, you hope to make in college. And that was one thing my parents instilled in me. They still keep in contact with a lot of their friends from college, whether it's roommates or people they met on certain trips or in certain activities. Um, and for me, I think I can confidently say that I've made some very good lifelong friends. One being Anthony, my roommate. We've been together for we tolerate each other. We tolerated each other for the past 3 years. Um, no, but he's uh he's helped me a lot in college. And also Celine and Kara, they've been amazing friends that I've met in biomed engineering.
Yeah, I would have also, that's so cute. I have to agree with Matt. That a lot of the friends that I've made, I feel like I can consider lifelong friends, but I will say with that, um, you have to be kind of picky who you're friends with. I feel like my freshman year, I wanted to be friends with everybody and have a ton of friends. And I feel like that's kind of how it's depicted in the movies. Like you kind of have this giant group of like 20 to 30 people that you're friends with in college. And I feel like that's kind of the misconception that I had going in. And you totally can have 30 friends, but they won't be 30 close, good friends, which is, I think, something that's important to note. And so sophomore year, again, I was like still into like just trying to find as many people as possible that I could connect with. But as I've become older and have been an upperclassman my junior and senior year, I feel like I've been more intentional in the friendships that I've been creating in college and just trying to find the friendships that are worth your time and your energy, because keeping a good friendship and like cultivating friendships, like Matt was saying, that will be lifelong friendships, takes a lot of energy and time. And I just wanted to make sure that I like was surrounding myself with people that I cared about and that also cared about me. So I feel like as I've become like a senior, like the people that are in my life right now are people that are worth investing my time in. And I feel like sophomore year, I just had a ton of people around me, but I wasn't really sure who I wanted to keep throughout my 4 years. And so I could confidently say that like people in this call and then also other people that I've met, like in my major, in my classes, and in different organizations are friends that um, I really enjoy spending time with. And so I think that for me, the easiest way to make friends was, again, like Anthony was saying, ASBME. So the Associated Students of Biomedical Engineering, as well as people that I've met in Helene's. Also people that you meet in like your classes. Like what's really nice about USC is that the cohorts for different majors are like pretty small within Viterbi. So you kind of see the same faces over and over again in your classes. And so I've met some really good friends through that as well. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Does anyone else have anything they want to add?
I just wanted to say, like, I know Celine was mentioning this earlier, but it's so easy when you're a freshman or sophomore to, see other people on Instagram or social media or whatever, hanging out with all of these people and thinking that everybody has all these friends and everyone has this huge, network of people and they are going out all the time and getting all this food. And it's so easy to feel like you're not a part of that and, feel that FOMO and feel like you're doing something wrong, that you're not making, 50 different friends. But like Celine was saying, I think it's, a lot more important to make sure that the people that you're surrounding yourself with are genuine and people you do want to spend your time with and who you will be friends with, 20 years after college. So like, I definitely think that's part of the adjustment period, is understanding that it's not about what you feel online. It's more about developing genuine friendships and not feeling like you're missing out on something.
Yeah, I feel like social media plays a big role in like FOMO for underclassmen, just because that first week, like Kara was mentioning earlier, we have all of these activities, like welcome activities, that students are participating in. It can be like very overwhelming, like your first week, because you're like bombarded with all these new faces, all these new people, and you'll see people like walking in like groups of like 30 to 40 kids like going somewhere. And but like it's important to note that like even if you're not experiencing that, let's say your first week, um it's okay because eventually those giant groups, they do end up dwindling down and you end up like having just like a really close group of friends. Um, so yeah, I think that's just important to
Also, with regards to Welcome Week stuff, it like I definitely see the purpose, and I think it's a great opportunity. But most of the time, like there's a good chance you're not gonna run into those people very often again if you're not actively trying to like continue to be friends with them. I know weirdly enough, there's two people that I see all the time who I remember meeting in Welcome Week that that they're like friends now, I would consider, but I sort of became friends with them through a completely unrelated route and had that, other way of meeting them not come up. I don't really think there was anyone I met during Welcome Week other than my roommates that I still really talk to. Um, so it is intimidating. I think is the point of me saying this. Like it's a little bit intimidating. Um, and that is also my personal experience with it. But because I think it's definitely worthwhile to sort of throw yourself into that situation and kind of be uncomfortable. But it's also not the end of the world if you don't feel like you got anything out of it, because you have many years ahead of you, and 1 week of Welcome Week stuff is probably not going to really heavily impact your time at USC. Um, anyway,
Yeah, and I guess in my case, I wasn't even able to attend any Welcome Week stuff because of marching band things. And so I guess I prioritize, fostering the friendships I had in marching band over kind of making new friends. But that's not to say, I didn't make new friends in classes and that sort of thing. Um, I guess for me, I met a lot of people who I guess became friends with for, you know, sometimes a long time, but sometimes just, a semester, in like lab sections for chemistry classes or physics or bio classes. Because, in those classes, you get to, I guess, interact with people a little more than the typical lectures. In a lecture, you might go sit down to next to someone new, and you might say, "Oh, hey, nice to meet you," and that's probably it. But um, in lab sections, you're gonna see, these same people for the whole semester. So there's a greater chance, you become friends with someone there, and um, it might only last a semester, like I said before, because you're seeing them on a consistent basis, but um, you might run into them later on campus and say, "Oh, hey, I recognize you. How are you?" And sort of thing. So those are more like, um, I
like
guess, more
transient
temporary
friends.
friendships. Yeah, but it's still like I felt like my sophomore year, I'd walk around with a couple of my biomed friends, and I'd just bump into a lot of people that I like kind of knew from classes and that sort of thing, but weren't super close friends. But having these past 3 years in person under my belt now, I've definitely made a lot more friends that are, I guess I'm closer with than, just like like Anthony said, like I have more friends that aren't, like transient friends, I guess is one way to put it.
Oh.
Yeah, I also feel like you know everybody, Matt. Like whenever we're walking between classes, you say hi to like at least five different people like every day.
We have a lot of band
Yeah, I don't know. It's
connections.
just this weird overlap between band because band has just people from all different, majors and fields and that sort of thing. And so I have that crowd, and then the biomed engineering crowd is, we all kind of walk from the same classes to other classes. Um, and then I guess I also have some swim friends too, or just random different majors too. But yeah.
All right, yeah. So transitioning from making friends to maybe what's more of a little boring topic, but academics, college, you have to take classes. It's not just meeting new people and figuring out how to do laundry and grocery shop. It's also staying on top of your schoolwork. So I know I can say for myself that first year or that first year on campus, sophomore year was very rough for me, just because my high school didn't have a lot of like AP physics, for example. That was something we didn't have. I didn't take physics in high school. So transitioning to physics one and physics two in college was very, very difficult for me. I did not do well in physics one. And I think for me, it was just a learning point of learning how to advocate for myself within my coursework and within my classes, because I feel like in high school, I didn't really lean on support from teachers or tutors or anything like that. I kind of just figured it out by myself and got the grades that I needed. But in college, everybody is just as smart as you, if not smarter than you. So I definitely felt that my first year on campus. I did not feel smart at all. And it was really difficult just not getting good grades in my classes. I think my first physics midterm, I got a 35%, which was insane, like actually very low with an average of like 60. Um, and so if that gives you a pinpoint of where I was at my sophomore year, that is where I was at. But it really helped to look at the different resources that USC had, which we have a ton, and we have what we call supplemental instruction teachers. Are basically students who got an A in the course, and they teach like weekly sessions to help you with the supplemental practice for a specific class. So I started going to those for physics, and I got my grades up, and I ended up with a fine grade in that class. But it can be like a little shocking at first to see like bad grades come up, because in high school I was just like that straight A student. And then moving to college and not being that straight A student for some classes was a little disheartening for me. But I feel like it's also okay to have like that bumpy first semester and then get your grades pulled up. So now I'm doing fine. But I think for me, it was learning how to move from high school to college, because they're definitely not the same in terms of difficulty. But I don't know how you guys felt about that experience.
I had a similar experience with physics specifically because I also didn't have AP physics in high school. So that like spring freshman year online to um fall sophomore year, and even also fall not as much spring sophomore year, but that like 2021 basically was probably my worst academic year ever. Um, and I guess I could blame COVID a little bit, but I think transitioning to being on campus uh, also had a lot to do with it, just because the environment of having to acclimate to a new setting entirely is somewhat draining. Um, and in physics specifically, it showed, because if it wasn't a subject that I was just already good at, um, I struggled a lot. Uh, and that kind of reflected on a lot of the classes early on. Was like, if I had taken it in high school, or if I had kind of gotten used to the material somewhat in high school, like an intro of some sort, then I didn't think it was that bad in college. But if I hadn't seen it, like any kind of related material before, it was immediately significantly harder. Um, and required a lot more effort to catch up to people. Um, a lot of the study habits I had in high school, I got kind of thrown out the window, um, especially during COVID, I guess, but even in person, it didn't really translate well. Um, and it wasn't just like, how do I put this? It had to do with the way I studied with other people in high school. It didn't work basically early on sophomore year, because I didn't know enough people to study with. I felt like very often it was usually me and Matthew uh holed up in our room trying to study for something, and uh that only worked in the classes that me and Matthew took together, which wasn't all of them, but in the ones that it did, it was fine, because at least we had each other to study with. Um, so the solo classes where you're kind of like, I think I call them solo classes, but like as a new person to this campus, we don't really know anyone in a class, and it's kind of like a gen science class. Those are rough because you don't really get that repetition of seeing people very often in those classes. It's kind of just the lecture of those classes, and then it's like, well, not really another time you're going to see them. Um, so it's like a really not natural way to kind of build study groups, and um, I think that hurt me a lot. Later on, as you know, I got older, the classes you tend to take it with people that you see more often just because you're kind of differentiating into your major. Um, and then it's easier because you've seen those people before. It's easier to build study groups. Um, but early on, that the study group thing is definitely, I think, a valid issue. Um, yeah.
Okay, I want to say so. I think I'm really grateful and lucky to have come from a high school that I think prepared me really well for college. Um, but when I came to college, I definitely still spent a lot of time studying and in the library, and um, most of my nights would be spent in Levy with my roommate until very late, working on physics homework or um, other similar things like that. But I also like really used, I think, a lot of that time that I spent studying to kind of build relationships with like professors or build study groups with other people. Like physics specifically, the professor I was taking with at the time, he had this really unique way of doing office hours where he would set them up on the grass like in the afternoon, and people would just come from both of his classes he was teaching, both of his courses he was teaching, and like hang out and sit on the grass and watch the sunset and ask him for help with problems and work with other students. And I really enjoyed that because it was an opportunity to not only get to know the professor better, but also to get to know other students in the class. Um, and so I really enjoyed that. Sometimes I would go, even just to ask like one question to the professor, but then to spend the rest of the time working with other people and meeting friends through that. Another thing is, like Anthony was kind of saying, I was lucky in that early on I met people that who were in literally every single BME and even other classes that I took. My friend, one of my friends was in like, yeah, every single class. And so she kind of became like my go-to resource. Like we would help each other with a lot of things that we were struggling with. And that was just really nice to be able to have people in your classes that and you can ask for help or you can study with. That over time, that has kind of grown from, one friend to a large group of friends. And we're, when you're studying at 2 a.m. in a study room in Levy together or in Michelson, or maybe not getting a lot of work done, but at least bonding is definitely, I think, a shared experience that, we all know that. I was in Michelson at 2 a.m. with Anthony. So anyway, long story. It's different adjusting methods to studying that I think it just depends on your foundation of how you study in school, how you studied in high school. But either way, you end up developing relationships with professors, going to their office hours, and meeting study groups and friends that become really invaluable to the way that you study in college.
Sure. Yeah, so similar to Kara, I was very fortunate to come from a school that kind of prepared me very well, I think, for college. My school's philosophy was there was no homework, one, really. We had some reports and that sort of thing, but everything, your grades and whatnot, were based on the test. So they really emphasized making sure you study for yourself and you make sure that you know the content and you're responsible for your own knowledge, and you have to prove it, on the exam. So I guess that helped prepare me for college, because college is basically like that. Um, you have to in college, a lot of the general science lectures is they give you a bunch of sets of lecture slides, and you're responsible for that information. And you have 3 exams, and that's your grade. Um, One thing I guess that surprised me coming to USC was that there are actually homework sets. So I had to uh, figure out how to do homework again. But I think
I think homework might be a
the way
unique
my high
issue to you, Matthew.
okay. But the way my high school is set up, it definitely helped me figure out certain study strategies that helped helped me, prepare for tests and exams in college. So firstly, I really like making study guides. So I will, if I get, a bunch of lecture slides, dense lecture slides, I'll type up everything from it. And then the way that helps me, ingrain everything in my brain is I really like to handwrite stuff. So I just have, reams of like blank white paper, and I'll handwrite, important things I need to memorize or my notes. So that served me pretty well in my time at USC. Another thing, I guess, you know, I had a pretty good foundation for the general science classes, but when it came to things like OChem or some more advanced biomed topics, I kind of struggled at the start. And the thing that really helped me was uh, being unafraid to ask TAs and professors for help, because, at the end of the day, they're paid to help you and teach you stuff, and they want to pass on their knowledge to you, and they're very eager to have students who are willing to learn. So I think going and talking to TAs and professors really goes a long way in college. And there's no need to be scared. I know it can be daunting, talking to, peers who are older than you, or even, like older professors and that sort of thing, because, uh, you know, everyone's, naturally a little bit self-conscious, and they don't want to, come off in a certain way to professors or TAs. But I assure you, as a TA now, actually, Kara, Anthony, and I are all TAs. We're here to help, and there's no need to fear. And it benefits you in the long run. You gain social skills, um, you learn stuff about the class, and get clarification on things that you need. So, yeah, those are my big tips, I think, for being prepared academically for college.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to move into just lasting thoughts, any additional advice that you all have. Um, I feel like the main thing that I've learned in college, like as a senior, number one lesson is learning that you can't control everything and that you just kind of have to go with the flow sometimes. I feel like as an underclassman, I was very much trying to control everything that happened in my life. So let's say, for example, internships, like you have that dream company that you want to work at. You have this idea for how your 4 years in college are going to look like. Like, I'm going to work at this internship. I'm going to make this amount of friends. I'm going to join this club. I'm going to have this job, blah, blah, blah. And I feel like as an underclassman, it can be very overwhelming because there's so many opportunities that are thrown your way, and you kind of lay out this plan for yourself. But as an upperclassman, I know that not all of that works out in your favor, but usually that is for the best. And usually whatever does end up happening is where you were meant to be. And so I feel like whatever opportunities I didn't get as an underclassman sort of redirected me to a place where now as an upperclassman I see is somewhere where I'm much happier. And so I feel like that is like a main lesson that I now know as a senior is that you can't control every single thing in your life, and some things aren't going to work out for you and some things will work out for you. So I feel like it's just a fine balance of like learning how to take some losses, but also learning how to take some wins. Like I feel like as an underclassman, like there's some things that I applied for, like maybe that I didn't get, but there were also other opportunities that I was able to receive, like studying abroad for like 2 weeks during a Maymester was like an incredible opportunity that I got as a sophomore, and that was really fun. Joining Helene's was really fun. Maybe there were some other organizations that I didn't get into, but the ones that I did get into were ones that were the right fit for me. So I feel like as an upperclassman, now I know that just learning how to go with the flow. I feel like I was like very uptight, like as an underclassman, just trying to make sure that things went my way. But I feel like now I'm much more understanding that whatever is meant for you will come to you. So I feel like that's my main takeaway for college.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with what you said. Like we're all engineers. Like I feel like we like to plan things and to have things go a certain way. And it definitely is not, that's not going to happen, especially in college. So I really agree with what you said. I also think like for me, I really think my number one thing that I would tell myself if I was a freshman is like, to just like get involved and try things. I was very, in my shell and I stayed in my comfort zone. And I wish I gotten more involved in literally anything on campus, taken more fun classes, tried to join more student organizations that I never would have thought to join. Because USC has a lot of opportunities, and I feel like I could have taken advantage of that earlier on. Like today, I just watched this really amazing Oscar-nominated film in this film class that I only took because Celine told me to take it. And it was amazing. Like it was so cool. And I wish I had done that earlier on. Or I wish I had joined, other student organizations earlier on. I could have met you guys all earlier if I joined ASBME or tried to get more involved, in my freshman year. So there's that. I also would say, if I had another piece of advice, would be to talk to your professors. They are really amazing people, and they're like experts in their field, and they actually all like genuinely care about students. Like they're at USC because they want to be here and to work with students. And it's so scary to talk to them because you think that they either don't remember you or they don't care or they don't, I don't know, want to give you the time of day. But like just today I was, in a meeting with my RIT 340 professor, and I was just realizing how good she is at her job and how amazing she was at giving me like advice for graduate school and things like that. And I wish I had made those kind of similar connections earlier on, because I think that throughout college you have the opportunity to connect with a lot of people who are amazing in their field, and it's a missed opportunity if you don't do that.
I feel like my, again, main takeaway is sort of along the same lines. Goals are fluid. I feel like I set a lot of ideas in my head early on, like even probably before freshman year, as to what I would accomplish by the time I graduate and where I had set myself up to be. And I was so stubborn in getting and trying to make sure that I was able to achieve all of those things that having more patience probably would have, and to wait for like a better opportunity to arise probably would have I just helped me do that more actually than trying to figure everything out right away. Another thing, and then I think this might be a little bit unique to me, but maybe it touches on a lot of people. If you have like relatives that like they like to give you advice, and they want to help you throughout your college career, they don't always give the best advice because they're giving advice based on what they did and not what you um not what's best for you necessarily. And I feel like once I figured out what I was interested in, which was like I got really involved in ASPME, like I've said. I am president now, so I feel like that was a good call. But like that was once I kind of took full control of what I wanted to do, um, that I finally I got myself to that point. Um, but I think another thing, and I'll let Matthew speak in a sec, sorry, is I remember early on having this idea that I needed to, like, it would be hard to replace my high school friend group. Um, and I still like you can't replace the dynamic that you had with friends you had before. And I feel like that was a lesson that it's just like I had to get over it. Like I'm still friends with people I knew in high school, but at the same time, it's like the obsession I had basically sophomore year with um being able to basically find like the same kind of people and community um probably hurt me in the long run, and probably was the reason why I struggled to find friends sophomore year. So if anyone is having that thought of like, I had this group of people I kind of grew up with really well, and it's going to be hard to transition without the same people. Um, they shouldn't be the same people. They should be a new set of people because you're in a new environment, and the people you're going to meet are like more attuned to the situation that you're in. Um, and it took me such a like an embarrassingly long time to figure that out, quite frankly. Um, and once I did, it was kind of like a like, oh, I'm at peace. Like that, realizing that made a lot of sense to me. Um, but yeah, those are my main things that like if I had to tell myself as a freshman things to not stress over too much, those would have been it.
Yeah, I guess for me, I've got a couple takeaways. Coming into college, I wanted to, I guess in high school I was very, uh, I was someone who studied and tried to get very, like achieve high grades and that sort of thing. So coming into college, I wanted to, try to enjoy it a little more. So I had this kind of mentality, uh, that, kind of things will happen for a reason. Things will always kind of just work out. Um, and, throughout my years in college, I've kind of learned that, you know, things happen for a reason, but you should also not be afraid to try to set yourself up for success, as well. So whether that's, planning ahead, like you wouldn't want to just like wait till the last minute and, kind of expect things to fall into place. Um, in college, you'll learn there's a lot of value in planning ahead. And a lot of times it'll work out when you plan ahead, but not always. And you just have to kind of be okay with that. I guess like Celine and Kara were saying. I guess the second big takeaway I have is you shouldn't be afraid to kind of branch out and try to discover who you are in college. Um, for me, I'm a twin, and I'm generally a quieter person. And my twin is the exact opposite. He's super extroverted. So I guess growing up, we did everything together, and I always felt like, um, I could kind of like stand behind him and kind of be his shadow, and he could do all the talking and that sort of thing. But I like deep down, I knew I was, I guess, more than that. and I had more to offer and express. So coming into college, I specifically chose USC to go to a different university than my twin. Um, but it's proved to be such an amazing opportunity to kind of find myself as a person, through marching band and through biomedical engineering, and figure out that, I have a lot to express. A couple of my friends know I'm pretty uh, animated a lot of the time. Um, and yeah, I guess I'd advise people to not be afraid to, step out of their comfort zone and to, um, you know, don't be afraid to explore, and, kind of see who you can become.
Yeah, just to finish off, I 100% agree with Matt to try new things. I feel like I was very scared to do that my sophomore year, but there's so many cool things happening at USC. Like Hera was mentioning, the film class that we're in is so freaking cool. And like you get to watch movies and have the directors come in with your tuition money. Like it's, if you have free space to take fun classes, you should do it. Also taking an acro yoga class. I've never done acro yoga before, but I learned how to do a handstand 2 weeks ago. It's just like it sounds so silly, but it's like things that you wouldn't have imagined yourself doing, you can do when you're in college. And I think that's why college is such a great time to find yourself as a person and to develop yourself before you go on to become a real life adult, which we will be in 2 months. So,
Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
sorry to bring that
Yeah.
up. It is impending. But yeah, thank you all so much for being on this episode. I think our listeners will find it super helpful as they commit to college to become the class of 2028. So I will hand it off to Maya and Paul to close off the episode. Thank you guys.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Celine, thank you for bringing us a great episode. And Paul, believe it or not, Celine was not primed that this is pretty much all I feel like I've been talking about on the podcast is like reflecting on senior year and my experience. So when she said that this was the episode she wanted to, I was like, it's perfect.
great.
Like, I feel like this is the time when prospective students are really looking to hear from people who've been at Viterbi and like that overall experience to evaluate whether they want to come
Yeah,
here.
exactly. Wow. So it's awesome stuff. Celine, what's your kind of your final thoughts on this whole thing? Like if you could, it's not necessarily a summary, maybe it is, but if it's one final thing, like, hey, you know what, you listened to all that stuff, but if there's one thing as an income student I want you to think about, what is it?
I feel like there were so many good like tidbits of information that we went over. I didn't realize how much wisdom we all had as seniors. It was nice to realize that during the
I didn't realize exactly how smart we actually were. Like we're like pretty smart, and I don't know about you all, but I'm just trying to say.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
like wow, we have like nuggets of information that like sometimes you look up like I don't know, like stuff on Google, like life lessons or something like that. It's like those were coming from us and it felt really good
Oh,
to have,
you guys
like
should start like a Pinterest board with like fancy fonts.
true. I feel like I don't know, it was just super cool to reflect and see that. I don't know if I can come up with one like major takeaway that kind of unifies that all, but I feel like a really important lesson that we talked about was learning how to go with the flow when you're an underclassman, because I feel like
Totally.
a lot of the time you come to college with an idea of what you want to do. And considering that a lot of the people that come to Viterbi are very ambitious, you have kind of like this idea of what you are going to do during your time in college. Like, I'm going to get this internship and join this club and do this research in this lab. And you kind of have that vision. It's perfectly okay to have goals, but I think that it's also really good to develop flexibility and understanding that maybe you won't get a certain opportunity, but that might redirect you to something else that will be even more fruitful for your future. So I think that as an underclassman, I was very worried about if I wouldn't get things or not. But I think that as an upperclassman now, I just understand that redirection is okay. And also trying again. You can always reapply something. So I feel like that's a lesson that we learned, just to learn how to be flexible
That's awesome.
with our lives.
Mhm.
So I feel like
That's
that's
awesome.
something I wish I would have remembered as an underclassman.
I love it. Have a plan, but be ready for someone else's plans to change your plans. Like it's really just the biggest thing, especially as we get more and more. I mean, it happens every single year, and not to say that you guys aren't ambitious, but we get more and more students that believe that they're in control of their destiny. And while that there are levels of truth to that, and there are targets, and there are things to think about, the biggest lesson that I hear almost every one of you as seniors talk about is be ready for change, be ready for unexpected detours because they end up being better than your plans anyway. So, love that. Speaking of unexpected detours, let's take an unexpected detour in this conversation, down to what's happening in your guys' life. What's making you happy this week other than spring break? And what's challenging you this week?
What's other than spring break?
I know because the answer is going to be spring break if I just give it to that, because I know you guys are like leaving, but
Yeah. I think I'm at the time in college in like senior year where I'm kind of learning what all my friends are going to be doing the next year, and everybody around me seems to be very like pleased, like everything's falling into place. Like people are getting jobs at their dream companies, everybody's like figuring out what they have to do, and there's just a lot of excitement in the air.
stressful
So
too.
it's stressful and it's exciting. I think mostly it was probably stressful last semester and the beginning of this semester.
Mm.
And this is kind of like your light at the end of the tunnel right
Mhm.
now. Like it's starting to be that, and like yeah, there's like this calm content around me, and I think that's very, very infectious. So I've been in a good mood this
That's
week.
great. Celine?
I would honestly have to agree with Maya. Like, I feel like people are figuring things out, and it's just nice that we get to enjoy ourselves and just
Mhm.
relax during these last 2 months. And again, with that too, I feel like I've really found my people at USC. So it's just been nice getting to enjoy life with them for our last few months here. So I feel like that's been making me happy this week. I also learned how to do a handstand.
What?
So
Oh,
random, but I'm taking an acro yoga class. It's a 1 unit, and we had to learn how to do handstands. So I finally know how to do one. So that was
Can
this
you
week.
walk me through the phases that they took you through to get to full handstand?
It's like, essentially you have to, I forgot the exact like folding pose, but you essentially do like a plank and then walk your feet forward. So you're kind
Yeah.
of folded over,
Yeah.
and someone's standing behind you, and they raise up one of your legs and put it on your shoulder, on their shoulder.
Oh, on their
Um,
shoulder. I'm like, on your shoulder. Oh my
yeah,
God. My
on their
legs don't bend that way.
And then they kind of just like push you up with their hands. Like they bring both of your legs over your head and kind of
So
just
you can
there until you balance. And
so
then they,
you can do a handstand without that support now. You just go straight
yeah,
to fold a plank and then lift your legs up.
yeah, it's kind of, you just kind of like throw yourself forward. I don't even know how to describe it, but
like the press
yeah, the
handstand
stand,
kind
yeah. It was really cool.
of.
I've never been able to do that. My parents aren't one to like teach me acrobatics or like do handstand
Well,
things
I'm
like
sorry, Celine. Whose parents are going to teach you acrobatics unless you grew up in the circus? I mean, like, come on, like, oh, well, I never knew that because my parents didn't teach me. I'm like, whose parents are going to teach you?
so
No, my
funny.
parents put me in gymnastics, and that was the equivalent of them teaching me. They were like, "There's no
Mhm.
way,"
Doing a
but
flip.
if you want to, like,
Yeah, it's just something that I never did. So I finally learned. It was kind of crazy.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that
That's
was
awesome.
funny.
so I didn't realize this. It's National Women's
Yes, it
Day,
is.
International Women's Day.
Mm.
Yes, it is. It's very cool. And
I just got a
what's that?
very sweet text from my
Oh,
mom.
did you? Well, happy
Mhm.
National Women's Day. It's National Women's Month, and this is National Women's Day, which is very exciting. Yeah, I know this all of my workouts have been like all female themed, like all like female anthems and happening National Women's Month. So it's been like nonstop. There's been a lot of like Rihanna and a lot of Beyonce in my workouts lately. So that's been kind of fun. Um, is acro yoga like your main workout now, Celine?
No, I go to the gym every day, but it's a nice
Okay.
like Monday activity just to
Okay.
get some movement in.
What's I just love we're talking about this. What's your like routine? Because Maya just like floats around. She's like, oh, maybe do this machine now. Maybe do that machine now.
I'm in pickleballing now
Oh, I don't know
too.
this.
So
Okay, so let me hear. Okay, so wait. So
here
Celine, start with you. What's your like
it
what's
goes.
your thing? What's your workout routine?
I feel like I'm kind of like Maya. I just kind of like rotate between strength and cardio. When I do strength, I just follow like workouts on the Peloton app with
Hmm.
like free weights. So that's kind of like what I do. And
Hmm.
then cardio is just like treadmill. Yeah. So just kind of alternate, kind of like random strength workouts. It's not like very specific.
And Maya, you're playing pickleball now?
Apparently,
Well,
yeah, my
apparently,
friends
like
have
you're the
got
one that knows. Like it's like it's news to
well,
you.
it's like as of this last week and a half, yes, I've played pickleball many times, which has been like probably more than in the last 12 years of my life. I haven't played pickleball since middle school gym class, but all my friends decided that they're very into pickleball, so we've been playing and it's been really
I've
fun. It's like a nice light
Yeah, I've
workout.
never played. I've always wanted to. I see it, and then it's like I think I need the paddle, I need the equipment, and then I need the group to be a part of, and so I got to figure that thing out. But
Yeah.
oh man, pickleball.
Very like it's like I feel like the bar is low to be
Hmm.
competitive, and then like there are levels where like if you're really into that self-development within the sport, then like there's the opportunity to get really good, but like you don't have to be super good to have a really great time. So it's
Have you
like
started
good for
shopping pickleball merch?
no, no, I have not, but I think my roommate is like a week away from pickleball merch level.
Amy and Lulu is the site I would recommend you to go look at. AME and LULU. Amy and Lulu. They have like a ton of
Okay.
tennis and pickleball merch for women. That's pretty
Ooh.
cool. Reason being is like that's where all of my Christmas shopping went for my daughter and my wife, who are very into tennis. But lots of cute tops, lots of great sayings, things like that. Very cool stuff.
Ah, very, very nice to know. This will be my like
Just dropping knowledge bombs here.
cute.
No ad, just no promotion here, but
No
helpful
promo.
stuff.
Next year promo.
Exactly. We're working on the ad campaigns here. Um, cool. Well, my last question for you two is, and I don't mean to freak you out, but have you all started the conversations of, oh my God, this is the last time we do this?
Oh yeah. It's been
Have you?
I feel like it's been
Yeah.
going since last semester because after the last football game, it's like, oh, this is
Mm,
the last football game. Or
yeah.
oh, like our last first day of classes in January. I feel like we bring it up a lot, but not in like a sad way, but as in a way to remind us to like stay grounded and like present in the moment. I
Mm.
feel like this is kind of
Mhm.
how it's going.
To
But yeah,
enjoy it. Like, hey, everybody recognize this is happening.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, lots of laughs. I feel like my friend group says it a lot. I don't know about you, Maya, but we're like, oh, this is our last time doing this. Or like we only have this many days left.
Yeah, sometimes we say it, but some people in my friend group are more prone to tears than others. So I think
Mm.
somebody said it, and then there was like this explosive emotional reaction. So now it's not said very often, but I did catch myself. I saw my parents last weekend, and I realized that the last time I'm going to see them until graduation. So I had a little moment. So did my mom. And then yeah, but it really I think it's increasing exponentially, like recognizing the lasts. But it's that mix of excitement, and it's also great to see everybody around me kind of figuring their stuff out, like we talked about earlier. So
Awesome. Well, that is basically it. I don't know if I've told you guys this. For Christmas, my father-in-law got me a desktop calendar, and it's a dad joke per day. So every day I've got a new dad joke. Do you want to hear today's dad joke as we close out? All
yes.
right. So to the person who stole my copy of Microsoft Office, I will find you. You have my word.
Why is this the first dad joke I've heard on the
Because
podcast
I
world?
just thought of it. I haven't shared it with you guys.
You have these every day?
I have 366 of these because it's a leap year. All
Mm.
right. Anyways, that landed well. Hey, so many other episodes coming up soon. If you've stuck this far, we've got some stuff cooking in the background that I think will be very, very cool over the next couple weeks. You might even see a few bonus episodes pop up. So depending on our recording schedule, Maya. But lots of stuff happening. Lots of stuff happening for admission. We're getting close. We're getting close to probably that end of March where we're going to be releasing. The university will finalize and then release admission decisions. We're still working. The Office of Admissions working very, very hard on that. So sit tight if you're in the applicant pool and just waiting. And as a reminder, there's nothing you can or should do at this point. Just let the process happen, and we'll be back in touch with you. And if you have been admitted, I would like to encourage you to make sure you come to Explore USC. A bunch of events happening in April. And if you do get admitted later on, that's also what you should do. So lots of stuff happening. I hope you guys, the two of you, have a fantastic spring break. Be safe, and I will see you when you get back. All right, bye everybody. Have a great weekend-ish week. I don't know. I don't know what we're doing, but we'll see you next week. Bye.